Hey, what is up, YouTube? What is up? I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching my videos. We want to get to Michael knows. I guess the OnlyFans girl expects a traditional treatment, but she's a sex worker, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Let's get to it.
Probably not.
If you did though, would you want the man to pay?
Not necessarily.
Fair enough. But you, just a question for you. You don't do adult content at all, do you? No. Okay, but all besides Madison and Michael and myself, everyone else here does do adult content to varying degrees of nudity, I guess you could say. My question for you then is, you have a rather traditional expectation of men, but please don't be offended. I would argue that being involved in pornography is rather non-traditional. So how do you reconcile expecting traditional treatment from men when you guys are engaged in a very non-traditional occupation and behavior?
It's work. So
Okay.
for me, originally, I actually worked in the tech industry for 2.5 years, and I was doing OnlyFans on the low. Naomi's not my legal name. I just did that because I didn't want to get fired because I was pretty high up in a tech company.
Sure.
And then I just decided one day, I was like, why am I making people millions of dollars when I can make myself millions of dollars?
Well, I'm not asking you to justify why you do the work that you do.
But like,
I'm asking why you have. I would assume that you would not categorize yourselves as traditional women.
My point was like I was traditional and no one knew about this other side of me, right? So
well, how long have you been doing OnlyFans?
Like a year.
Okay. So my question is that none of you are traditional women, yet you have very traditional expectations of men. How do you reconcile that?
I think for myself, I've been in long-term relationships alongside my job, and how I reconciled with that was simply being very upfront with the realities that I was going to always make more income in that relationship. And for that reason is why I say with long-term relationships, I wouldn't expect that man to pay for everything. And I know that you agree that men should be paying for most everything.
Yeah.
And I do agree that depending on the type of circumstances of that relationship and who they are, that can happen as well. So my relationship to traditional relationships is not exactly as they're seeing it out as, but I know for some, a lot of girls like to expect a traditional relationship, but reality hits, we're not traditional girls. We do OnlyFans, we do all these other things.
But you could just stop.
Yeah, we
right,
can,
and then
completely.
you could just do the traditional thing and find this, like, rich
This
Mac daddy,
provider,
and
man.
and he can pay for your hair, and then you don't do the other thing.
Well, I do want to go around the table on this because that was a question that was posed generally, but to all of you. So, Cindy, how do you reconcile?
I think the man should definitely provide in a relationship, and it
So
doesn't
then
even
the
matter
woman
about
should not be involved in pornography.
I'm not even involved. Like I don't make porn. I don't make like if you subscribe
Cindy?
to me, I'm not. I actually don't. And Pornhub actually reached out to me last time because you said that in the video that went viral. I'm not on Pornhub. I don't do that kind of content. But going back to the question, like, yeah, I think the guy should provide. It's been like that. The man chases after the girl.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been like that. It's always going to be like that. And it doesn't matter if you do OnlyFans, if you're a sexy model on the internet. It's not always what it seems. Once you get to know the actual woman and talk to her, like we are right now, then you'll actually get to know her. It's not always like sexualizing a woman because she's like, she's hot and like,
Oh, well, I'm not sure if that really, okay.
Sorry, I was going to say I kind of align with what you're trying to say is it's kind of a mask per se. I don't like saying that, especially on camera, but our identities as these girls, as adult girls, is that we are these super hypersexual beings, and that's not always the reality.
Yeah.
That's not our actual identities.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't even have the same names. So I think that's where it kind of carries out into our personal lives, and our private lives are very traditional as opposed to the untraditional ways that we present ourselves online.
The persona online.
But because of that, we obviously, like myself, I include that into my relationships. There is a reality for myself, for others, perhaps not.
But is it really possible to like split yourself up into two people? I mean, you could have a stage name and a real name, and in your stage persona, you're one way, and in your real life, you're another way. But you're one person.
Not
so,
two different
No, you
people,
can't.
just the perception of how people see us online versus how we are
But
in
I
real
think that's
life.
to Brian's point. When you're dating someone,
with two different identities.
you're both of those people, right? And I guess you're going to be more one or the other, or you're going to be an individual.
Exactly.
So the stage persona might start to infringe upon the reality. And so would that change your expectations of the kind of guys you'd be dating, or how you would behave with them?
For me, my ex was the only person I ever made content with, like, in that way, like, to the furthest extent of content, I guess. No one else have I ever made content on that level with. Everything else is just me.
It's so crazy to think about the way we all talk today. Is
maybe? I don't know.
ordinarily what you'd be saying is we made love, but we're such a capitalistic, materialist, decadent society. And I say, my ex, he and I, we were so close, we made content together. It was the deepest content ever. It's just something's really gone wrong in our society, hasn't there? That because really you should just be making love and making babies.
No,
with
I
these
agree.
guys, right?
I agree, but the money is something that I really hopped on and wasn't willing to walk away from.
If it's very tempting.
If I can support myself and the people in my life,
That's all
that's all I ask for.
Can I say something? I think that I don't even do content or anything, but I think we should treat people that do the same as we treat actors. Like, we don't judge them for the movies or the roles they play in movies or anything because the money is good.
Do we not? I mean,
No.
they're a little bit different. Historically speaking, actors have been considered in the same class as, like, criminals and prostitutes.
Well, in my personal
Marilyn
opinion,
Yeah,
I don't.
sure.
I don't look at a role my
Anderson.
favorite actor plays and say I don't like this role, so I don't like this person. It's kind of just like they're doing it for the money
Johnny
and they're
Depp.
doing it for the content, and I think it's the same with OnlyFans.
No, sure. I understand that they're like these. You put on a
Brian's
mask and you
like,
do
no.
a thing.
So what do you think about
Yeah,
that?
what do you think, Brian?
Well, look, let's. I think you're trying to make a point of something in a broader sense, but I'm talking on an interpersonal relationship level. So, for example, you could have, and I'll open this up to the whole panel, but I'll start with you. Would you object to a man who perhaps he has actually no issue with a woman being engaged professionally with producing adult content? He has no problem with it, no judgment of it. However, when it comes to his personal life and who he chooses to partner with and date, he does object to dating someone who has nude photographs of themselves on the internet for whatever reasons those may be. He's not outwardly judgmental about it, but when it comes to his personal preferences and who he wants to date, marry, whatever it may be, he does not want to date a woman who does OnlyFans or does porn. Do you object to that preference?
No, I think everyone
Okay.
has different preferences, and everyone should have the right to decide that for themselves.
Okay.
But then that man would be judging.
No, that's a
No.
personal preference. There's a pool for everybody. That's what
Yeah.
I believe. If
Yeah.
there's a group of guys who's not okay with adult content, like, then that's not the guy for me. So it's cool. Like, you don't want to date me, I don't want to date you just
Yeah.
as much. That's how I see it.
I think the right one for you guys will come to a common ground together in the end. But right now, I mean, we're all single. We can all really do whatever we
you're
want without
single.
the feedback of a partner.
Sure. Is it possible though that if you didn't do what you do, that you
Probably
could
would
get
not
a
be
better
single, right.
husband someday? Is it possible that the kind of guy who you might want to marry is the kind of guy who wouldn't want his wife to be, in the sexual industry?
Not for me.
I think it depends on your standard of quality and what better actually is. So if you identify as better in a man would be somebody who is completely religious or is completely conservative or somebody who is completely against pornography in general, then better might be very, very large and
But
different.
what if it's even more
from-
basic? Just like a guy who he's more faithful to you, he's better at raising the kids, he makes more money, he is more
What does
responsible.
that have to do
If
with
I met
sex
the
work,
right guy
though?
and he didn't want me to do this anymore and we were going to be together, I'd quit.
You'd quit,
I'd
yeah,
be done.
yeah, of
I'd be
course.
done. But that's not where I'm at in life right now. Like, I respect that. I think everyone, that would be hard as a partner watching your partner online and for everyone else to see. Like, I don't doubt that that's hard.
Is it possible though that what you're doing now is preventing you from meeting that guy? Because that guy maybe wouldn't even look at your kind of content, right? So is it possible that if you quit right now, you say, I want, it's like dress for the job you want, right? You say, I'm going to quit right now and I'm going to go do something else and I'm going to go put myself in places where I'm more likely to meet that guy, Mr. Right, who wouldn't want me to be doing this stuff. Are we not reversing the order of the way things might happen?
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you to a sense, but I think the guy for me is going to be the guy for me in the end, and I don't need to change what I'm doing right now for him.
Keep thinking.
I think
please.
I think for a lot of us, at least for my sense, is I prefer a partner who's understanding and with transparency. So if they're willing to understand the reasonings that I chose to do my job and chose my occupation and have continued it for so long, then I think that's the perfect partner for me. Not everybody is going to understand, and not everybody that does understand is perfect for me, but eventually one day, just as she's saying, is that person may come around and that might be the perfect fit. But I don't think that everybody is possibly perfect, even if they don't appreciate or are accepting of what I've done in the past. So for that reason, I think it just comes around. Obviously, yes, if we all lost our jobs and we all chose to leave it, yes, there'd be a larger percentage of men or women who are willing to be with us. Obviously, she doesn't perform this type of work, but regardless, I think as well, just because we continue to do this to today, then I think most of us would prefer somebody who is understanding and passionate for our decisions.
Because you're putting the job before the larger pool potentially of guys.
Completely. I think it's also because that can show more of a moralistic value as opposed to the simplicity of, oh, so she left it, great, now I can finally hop in because now she's out of that system. Not necessarily that's what you're saying, but
no, it's not. I guess it would. If you quit, it would probably reflect a change in your point of view about it.
Completely.
And it's kind of what I don't know. When I was a younger man back in my youth, I was more of a derelict and did all sorts of things I shouldn't do. And mercifully, I married my wife, who's much more virtuous than I am. But that required me to become a little bit more virtuous. Like I actually wasn't really deserving of my wife. And, so I worked on certain things and like partied less and, like stop behaving badly for the most part. And so it's not like we're all just static, right? It's not all just like, well, the man for me is going to take me exactly as I am. Like, I don't know, I'm not perfect. I got to work on all sorts of things every single day. So wouldn't the same be true for all of you?
Yeah,
completely.
100%.
I suppose. I think one thing that was interesting was like you said something about being in the right place or different places if we weren't in this work. I just don't agree with that because I do look at it as work. I think all of us look at it as work.
Yeah.
So like,
it's just a certain type of work.
Pool-wise, yes, there's a different dating pool for us as sex workers, but I disagree that we wouldn't be, like, you're religious, right?
Pretty religious.
Okay,
yeah.
so, like, do you think sex workers, like, they're contradicting themselves by being religious? I'm not personally religious, but...
No, well, our Lord did dine with prostitutes, and but that's not an endorsement of prostitution, right?
Okay.
So I don't know. I think probably what often it could be hypocrisy. It could be that you say one thing and preach another, and you don't really believe what you're saying.
Okay.
If you're, say, a prostitute or a porn actress, and you say you're Christian. But what it probably more likely is you recognize something in your mind has changed, and you recognize that there's something good here that I should follow. But the body is kind of slow to follow, and you like the money, and you're kind of used to doing this, and there's a fear of what might happen next, and you're not even totally convinced, and because we're not just brains floating in outer space, and we're not just bodies, as unfortunately the sex industry would portray us to be, but we're both of those things, and so it creates a bit of a cognitive dissonance, and then one is going to win out over the other, and one hopes it would be the better alternative.
So I guess that's another thing that I wanted to ask you too for clarification. So if we were to end sex work, right, for us, if I were to quit, would I have to be like, oh, no, it was a bad idea, like I regret it, like, or could I possibly just be like, it doesn't make me happy anymore?
Yeah, you could quit and say, I'm just quitting because, it's Tuesday and I feel like quitting. Right. You could do that, that's fine. Okay. I suspect that what would happen over time is as people are always moving, you're always growing, you grow or you die. And so you'll continue to think things and your thoughts will change. And very likely, if you are impelled to leave that kind of work because you have just an inclination that it might be better for you if you get out, probably over time you're going to look back and say, I probably shouldn't have done that. Not the proudest thing I've ever done, but, that's why pencils have erasers, and I'm very glad that I can be absolved of my sins, and we move on. All sin and fall short of the glory of God. That's probably what would happen. But if the first thing you got to do is just say, like, I don't want to do it, I'm out, it's yucky, whatever, like, cool, that's fine.
But does it have to be yucky? That's my point.
Or
could
not
you just
even
be
yucky.
like,
Yucky's too strong. Yucky's too
because I said I'm not
condemnatory.
religious. I was raised Roman Catholic, but I'm not religious.
Yeah.
So
I was an atheist for 10 years, so you don't have to convince me.
Okay, cool.
But Yeah, that's fine. If there's just like some little inclination in you that says like, something's just not quite sitting right here, yeah, just follow that. You don't have to reason about everything. You know, you can just kind of follow your gut. Your gut is often going to lead you in a decent direction, and then you apply reason after that, and you say, okay, was that a good choice or a bad choice?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because like the stigma behind sex work is like it's bad, right? Everyone just says like it's bad, but
it's not good. It's not. I wouldn't say it's good, but
I think it's good.
Do you really though? Or, I mean, the way you ask the question makes me suggest perhaps you have some doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in corporate. I had that lifestyle, and I compare that to how I live my life now. I'm way happier now, and people don't like to believe that. I think it makes them really mad when I say that. But like my lifestyle now, like I'm my own boss. Yeah. I'm not constantly shit on by other people. I mean, yeah, I'm constantly I'm constantly shit on by other people, but I'm happy. I'm like genuinely happy.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, I do believe you that you feel that way, at least a lot of the time. The thing is, if that weren't the case, then bad things wouldn't be tempting. Like, of course, bad things give you a sort of euphoria, actually, for a period of time. But the longer term consequences of that, like, for instance, forestalling meeting Mr. Right, and, you know, perhaps forestalling having a family, or carrying with it some kind of stigma that is natural and is probably never going away as long as society continues to exist. You know, yeah, these are difficult choices that if there weren't temptation, no one would do it. Right?
I appreciate that.
I also have like.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it, man. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.